listening to Graham's podcast. Please enjoy, because this is going to be an adventure! Morning there, friends. I'm Graham, and this is my podcast. Wait a minute. Didn't I start my last podcast with Sir Cracker's podcast? I did. And I have just now changed it, so get over it. Hey friends, I am the only Graham Cracker, so get over it. Wow, it is kind of a weird change, but it is a change nonetheless. I have been calling myself Sir Cracker forever, literally forever, but I'm going to try something a little different, something a little new, and we're going to go down in history as, well, my birth name. The name my mama gave me, Graham. Now, a lot of people say Graham, but it is not G-R-A-M. Instead, it is G-R-A-H-A-M. Remember, in elementary school, they taught you when two vowels are separated by a consonant, it makes the first one say its name. No joke. Yeah, it does. Okay, so I'm in the process of changing over my name from Sir Cracker's Garden to Graham's Garden, and the process has begun. So that is what's new, like new, as in like this morning kind of new. Today, I've got a lot going on actually. So there's that, and then also the peppers. Okay, so I had 35 varieties of sweet peppers. 35. You know what? That's the first time in history I think I've ever had that many sweet peppers growing, especially in the makeshift grow room. I think it is insane. Oh my gosh, it is so insane. But yeah, 35 different varieties of sweet peppers, and 15 of them are making it to the outside world. So last night I uploaded a video of them going off to college. Haha, the little wild animals they are. So these peppers, I started them February 1st and February 12th. So I started two different batches at two different times, and they've grown and done really well. And then I got the wise idea to cut them back. Yeah, I cut the growth tip on them, and what that did is it set them back. So it slowed them down a little bit, made them shorter, made them work a little extra harder to get more growth out. But also when you cut the main grow tip out on a pepper plant, you can do it with tomatoes too, but it doesn't work as well. It does a little something different, but with peppers you put it in a little bit of shock. And so now it's going to start to bush out and start a lot of different stalks, little different new shoots coming off of it. And that's what I did. However, between that point and now, I have had nothing but trouble. We had a really bad infestation of spider mites, and that was a joy. Not. Spider mites are kind of a pain in the rear end to get rid of. You have to stay on top of it, and there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Some people, a lot of different ways you can get rid of them. A lot of people use soap and water, like a little bit of dishwashing soap and water in a spray bottle, and they just start spraying at them and getting them soaking wet, and that kind of thing. What I did was a little different. I did 50% rubbing alcohol to 50% water, and it takes about 3 weeks every other day spraying them down. Yeah, you just got to stay on top of it. Make sure you get in the crotches of the plant, so where the leaf comes out of the main trunk. You want to make sure that you get every little nook and cranny up underneath the leaves, on top of the leaves, and it's okay to even get the soil, the top of the soil a little bit, which also will help with if you have a fungus gnat problem. Fungus gnats are notorious for being in my garden, especially my indoor garden with the pepper shrine. I've actually been dealing with fungus gnats probably for about 4 or 5 years. And, you know, I've heard things where people say, oh, well, fungus gnats prefer wet soil, and fungus gnats prefer dry soil. And you know what? If a fungus gnat's going to be in your freaking yard or your garden or your planter or your pot or your grow room, then the fungus gnat's going to be there. It will adapt to the conditions of your soil. That's all there is to it. I mean, if you think about it, fungus gnats really, they're more attracted to the organic matter in the soil and the decaying of the organic matter or that kind of thing. You know, and a nice place to lay their eggs and that kind of thing. But I've never had I personally, I got to clarify here, I personally have never had any major issue with fungus gnats destroying any of my plants. They don't seem, in my opinion anyways, they don't seem to be interested in my plants. They seem to be interested in other little insects or bugs that are in my soil, is what it seems like. But what do I know? I am not a professional. I'm just kind of an avid gardener. I like to garden, and you know, you hear all the time on especially YouTube or podcasts or whatever, where gardeners will talk about, well, I'm not a professional, or I'm a professional gardener. Okay, let's be honest, okay? Yes, you can be a professional at something. What I consider a professional, especially a gardener, is someone who gets paid like a job to garden. That's a professional gardener. So like Cisco, he's a gardener, and he has a radio show, and he has YouTube videos, and he goes to all these wonderful gardening conventions and stuff. He lives in the Seattle area, King County, Seattle area, but he travels around all over the inland Northwest for different venues and stuff. But Cisco, I would call him a professional gardener. It's like P. Allen Smith. That's a professional gardener. Now, are they book trained? Who knows? But they get money and they get paid for gardening. I am not a professional. I'm an avid gardener. And, you know, I've got ideas and tricks and things. And, you know, I will share those. I have no problem sharing my ideas and my tricks and my things, giving new ideas and suggestions if someone has a problem. But I, like a lot of people, learn as I go. You have to make a mistake in order to get better at something. So, you know, honestly, that's what I do. I will garden, I will kill something, and I'll try again. And I'll kill something, and I'll try again. And I'll change it up a little bit each time. Or really think about, why did this happen? Or why am I having this problem? And learn as you go. That's what gardening's all about. You know, you get these wonderful people that come into our community, and they're like, oh, gardening, that sounds like fun. And they go and they just dive headfirst into this raised bed or set of raised beds, or put a couple $1,000s into equipment, and then that first year, halfway through, they get bored, or something doesn't work, or it doesn't turn out the way they want it to, or something like that, and they just give up. Or gardening's just not for me. I hate gardening. I'm not a good gardener. I got a black thumb. And it's like, whoa. Be a little more easier on yourself. Everybody's a gardener. we're just at different levels of expertise. You know, I mean, some people are really good at growing moss in their front yard. It's not something that you really work hard at. It's just usually something that happens. But still, nonetheless, you know, I mean, we're all different, and we're all at different places. You just gotta, if you want to get into gardening, you gotta slow down, take your time, and make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Matter of fact, gardening isn't about anything but making mistakes. You know, oh, whoops, I accidentally trimmed something, now I didn't get any tomatoes this year. Or, you know, I overwatered and I drowned my plants. Or I underwatered and it's like a desert out here and they're dead. You know, there's so many things that are like that. It's like fish tanks, for instance. You can go on a weekend vacation and come home and everything in your tank is dead. You know, it's the dead of winter, you forgot to turn the heat on in the house, and the electric went out, or things happen. They just do. It is just the way it is. Things just happen. So don't be so hard on yourself. Get out there and garden. Just get your hands dirty, try something, and start small. You know, most of us all really started with a small project, like a little house plant, or we started with an avocado from the grocery store. You know, most gardeners just started small, or they had a mom or a dad or a grandma or an aunt or an uncle or a grandfather or whatever that was into gardening, and they watched someone work in the garden and do things and watch things unfold, and then realized, oh my gosh, those flowers are so beautiful, I can do that too. Or I absolutely love these cucumbers, they are amazing. So honestly, we all come from different places. Oh, and here's the other thing, remember this, for all those new gardeners out there, remember this one. It is okay. We all garden differently. We all have different tricks. We all have different ways of doing it. And it happens, and it's okay. Gardening is not a cookie cutter thing. It's not follow this recipe and this is how you get to the end. And that's what intrigues me about it, is there's so many different ways and paths in order to get to the finish line. So, you know, just keep your head up. And if you fail at something, that's okay. You know, you can always try again, and there's always next year. So this year goes through and your neighbor has some daffodils and some tulips and that kind of stuff, and they love them, and they're, oh, you look across the fence and you're like, oh, I wish I had those in my yard. Well, guess what? You got time. You know, go get some bulbs and plant some bulbs this fall. So the same time that you're out in the garden, you know, putting out the plastic bag that looks like a pumpkin and you're shoving leaves into it, that's the same time you go and you put in all of your spring flowers, all your bulbs. Put them in the garden. You know, you got hostas and tulips and daisies, and you can plant, well, daisies are a little different, but you can plant anytime. You can do anything. You know, and that's what's so fun. You know, if you want to try something different, I encourage it. Go for it. Do it. So, but yeah, man, there's been a lot going on. I just got done making a film or a video not that long ago, about not even a week yet, about how to make a self-watering container out of 2 5-gallon buckets. And you know, I mean, that itself is just thinking out of the box. I saw a video years ago where this guy had 2 5-gallon buckets and he put one inside the other with holes, but he left the rims on them and everything, and he put tomato plants in them. And it's like, oh, okay. And you know, after time, I just thought about it. Well, why don't you take the rims off and push the thing down and further, and then it looks more like an actual pot, and doesn't look like a couple of 5-gallon buckets sitting there and all ghetto and trailer park trashy looking. And so that's kind of how I kind of came up with my little thing that I did there on my video. But you know, it is what it is. It's like last year I did tomatoes. I believe I did 17 tomato plants down the fence line of my property. I think, was it 17? No, it wasn't. It was 14. 7 on the neighbor's side and 7 on my side. And it was the first time I ever did something like that, where I planted tomatoes in a 5-gallon bucket, and I learned my lesson. I made a big mistake. I did not plant my tomato plants at the bottom of the bucket, and then filled the bucket up with potting soil. I planted them like you normally would, you know, just a little bit below the pot height, you know, the soil in the pot, just a little bit below that, in the soil, in the bucket, and they didn't do so well. I noticed that I was watering my tomato plants last year a lot, but that's because the roots were at the top of the bucket. So this year I thought, you know what, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to plant our tomatoes deep down in the 5-gallon bucket, and we're going to let the stems come up, and we're going to fill it in and grow it that way. Well, this is another learning thing. I've never done this before, but this is what I'm attempting to do. I'm attempting to garden in a way that I've never done, so I can learn from it. And you know, I'm at the point right now where it's like, if this doesn't give me more fruit production this year, and I have a lot more blossom drop, then I may not grow tomatoes in 5-gallon buckets again after this. That's kind of where I'm at, because I'm trying 2 different, and I'll probably try again in just a different way, find a different way and try again. But I'm doing 2 different types. I'm doing like I did last year with 4 tomato plants. That's a weird one. I can't believe I'm growing 4 tomato plants in one 5-gallon bucket. And they're not determinants. They're indeterminate plants. They're the big champion tomatoes. I can't believe I'm doing this. I know that it's not going to be successful. Like, in my heart, I know I'm not going to get a whole lot of fruit, and I'm not going to get a lot of big plants. But I'm doing it nonetheless, just to prove a point that you can grow in small spaces. Let's see how well this turns out. And then I've got 2 of my buckets. One's the Rapunzel and one is the Boxcar Willie. And they are a little different as well. I went to the dollar store and bought a couple of colanders, and I flipped them upside down, and I put a pot in underneath in the middle of them, and pushed those down into the bottom of the 5-gallon bucket. And so it should act like a water reservoir down there in the bottom of the bucket, and then that way, you know, maybe it won't dry out as quickly, and it might stay a little bit more wet and moist, which is really the problem, and the quick killer is putting the plants in stress too much and too often by watering, or lack of water, or over watering tomatoes. They like a constant moisture, but not soaking wet and not on the drier side. They like just that perfect amount of water, and so it's kind of a challenge, and I'm hoping I'm in that spectrum where I get it just right. But who knows? I mean, we won't know until fall, and we count how many tomatoes I've got and to see if it was successful or not. So yeah, it is a learning curve. That's all there is to it. It is a learning curve. Okay, so I am really hoping that I'm not boring the crud out of you with this podcast. Honestly, this is my second podcast, and it's so new to me. It's so new to me. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and not knowing exactly which direction to go or how to do it, you know, just playing with it, trying to have some fun with it. And I have this thing where I talk, and I can talk forever, for days and days and days and days and days. But I don't have a whole lot of time to make videos, and I don't have a whole lot of time to do editing and do all this other stuff. So my thought process is, okay, well, then I'm going to go ahead and record myself talking on a podcast. No callers, no nothing. I'll get questions and that kind of stuff, and then I will answer those questions as time goes on and that kind of thing, which I get all the time. I get questions all the time. As a matter of fact, the question that always seems to come up, and this is the reason why I'm calling this Graham's Podcast or Graham's Garden Podcast, or I'm working on that part, but I used to call myself, or I've been calling myself the longest time, the only Sir Cracker, or Sir Cracker's Garden. I'm calling myself Sir Cracker. From what I'm understanding, now I grew up here in the north, up by the Canadian border, and I'm not familiar with the racial slur of cracker. I mean, I understand it, and it's been explained to me, but it doesn't click. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, for me, it's my name. It's what I've called myself and what I've been called my whole life, Graham Cracker. You know what I mean? So, but I'm finding I believe that people are shunning away from my channel because of my name. And the name of my channel. So I thought, well, you know what, let me try something different. So I have decided to call myself Graham. Hey, it's my given name, it's my name, I have the law on my side on this one. And yeah, it's Graham's Garden, and this is Graham's Podcast, and it's yeah, it is what it is. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. That's why I've changed it. That's why I've altered and done this and done that, blah, blah, blah. So I'm hoping in the process of doing this, my all-time goal is to get more subscribers, get more people, not so much for the numbers and the count and all that, but to get my life and my experience out there. You know, I am building my legacy, or at least that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm building them, or better yet, I'm building my memories. I live my life, and my life is all... Oh my gosh, let me just back up and let me tell you a little story here, okay? I am now coming up on 16 years cancer-free. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was diagnosed in October of '99. And through the process, I had full-body radiation and chemotherapy and a stem cell transplant at Fred Hutch in Seattle. And it was a long 2.5-year battle to fight cancer and win. And then another 3 years to become normal again. After all that treatment and all that stuff you go through, it takes a long time for your body to regenerate and recoup and get over all the trauma and the crud that you just put it through. Well, one of the problems that I have is short-term memory loss. I cannot remember things that happened just a few hours ago, or there's too many things in my head and I end up forgetting multiple things. Now, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I get that, that's called old age, or I got that because whatever. I have it, and I have an actual diagnosis for it and all this kind of stuff. But for me, this was being on YouTube and having my YouTube channel was for me to be able to look back at the previous year or a couple of months back and see the development of my garden, learn from my mistakes, and remind myself, oh, that's right, this happened, or oh, that's right, that happened, and so I don't make the same mistake twice. And also, you know, after I had children, it became more of, this is who your dad is. This is what your dad does. And that is what I've done, is I've created and built kind of a place so that if any time in the future my children or my grandchildren want to know more about me, they can. and I'm an open book. I am straight out there. I will tell you what is on my mind. I won't hide anything from you. You have a question, I'll answer it, because that's who I am. And that's the purpose of me being here, and sharing here on YouTube with you people, is to show the world that I existed, and to show the world who I was. We have all this technology, and years ago, you would take a picture and of your baby, and then when your baby is 18, 19 years old, they look back at it and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was so small. Well, now we have the technology where not only there's a picture, but now there's audio with it, there's movement with it, there's thoughts and stuff, not just a piece of paper with an image. And so I'm taking advantage of that. That's the whole purpose of this, is to take advantage of the technology and be able to remind myself in the future, and so my family and my kids and everybody can really get to know who I am. It is definitely a legacy project. I am building a memory for myself, and a memory of myself. So that's what I'm doing. And that was the purpose when I started this YouTube channel, and it is still the purpose today. So I'm sorry if I ever say anything or do anything that upsets somebody. It's not my intent. I don't have a filtration system, and if I do, it's kind of broken. But I am. This is who I am. I am a free thinker. And I just speak what's on my mind. And so please bear with me through the process. Over the coming months and years, you may not agree with everything that I say. You may not agree with everything I do. But if you hold tight and hold through it, I guarantee there will be other things that will come out or happen or be said or shown that you will get value out of, and you will be totally cool with. So, I mean, we're all human. We all do things or make mistakes and have regrets. So, yeah. Anyways, enough of that rambling stuff. Oh my gosh, it's almost that time of day again, and I can't believe it's number 2. This is my second podcast. I am so happy about this. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I'm so glad I'm doing this. I have a YouTube group that I started a while ago, and I've got a little over 200 members to the YouTube group, and it's called Graham's Community Garden, and I highly recommend if you want to be part of something, definitely come to Facebook and check out Graham's Community Garden and just enjoy. I created this community for you, for the average gardener who wants to feel part of something. Please share your pictures, your videos, your whatever of your garden. Any questions or comments, anything like that, it is totally open and welcome to you, as long as you are respectful. And anybody and everybody is welcome. So definitely come check out Graham's Community Garden. I did build it for you and the community, not so much for me. I actually don't post in that group very often. I do every now and again, but it's not very often. It's usually the members of the group that do that. So check that out. Also, I have a couple other YouTube channels that I run. One is called The Hive, and there's links to some of those videos on my main page here at Sir Cracker's Garden, which the name will change here pretty soon. And then also The other one is called Surreal Cinema. So check those out. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. Feel free to share any of my videos or podcasts with your friends and family, anyone you think that would benefit or have interest in my content. And yeah, so y'all have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to talking with and to you again. And until next time, bye for now. Well, that was a wonderful show. Thank you so much, Graham, for one heck of a podcast. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.